types of ancient remains in semi-natural landscapes. The sign to the left, it says that it's a plate that is fastened on a stone, which says that that stone is protected by this archaeological law. As a farmer in an old agricultural landscape, then you find all the time a lot of signs from former generations, and some of them may be really old. Here is a picture from Mustiala. It's Kaukjärvi. You have down there the lake, and here to the left, where you can see some trees in the front, it's Runkomäki. And on this place, there has been signs of a Stone Age living place. These signs are usually very small stones or fragments. You can find them in the field if you walk on the field, and most of them are very small tools of quartz or flintstone. So these quartz we found in Finland, but flintstone not. So flintstone have been like an imported raw material. On the small picture down here, you can see one. This is pretty big now. This is like 5 centimeters big, but sometimes they are only 1 or 2 centimeters. But you can see from the edge here that it has been heated on the edge to make it some kind of a tool. So when you have been heating it, it becomes thinner, and you can use it for example, scraping a skin or cutting something. Mustiala is very old, so we have several places where there are signs from Stone Age in Mustiala territory. Pastures have usually a lot of signs from former activities. For example, in Mustiala, in one semi-natural pasture area, we found old house fundaments. So you can see stones going in the shape of a square or on a line, and it is thought that these are buildings that have been here during, for example, the Middle Ages. None of these have been excavated or investigated to any more extent. Areas, again, often close to the living houses, but still maybe in the forest, where the soil type is good. It may be in the pasture areas. You will find digged old holes, and they may be, for example, for storaging wintertime slash and burn turnips or other, for example, swede, which was also much cultivated in Finland. I have a picture here of the slash and burn turnip. So it's an kind of brassica species, and it is growing most on the soil, and it has only one deep root here in the middle, which goes in the soil, and the rest of this slash and burn turnip is on the soil. One of Mustiala's semi-natural areas, Sepän Haka, there has been a blacksmith from before, and there is also this very strange little stone, which I don't know if this is actually by nature caused or if this is human made or have something to do with this blacksmith work. It may be that it's natural, but it looks very strange, and it's alone, and I haven't seen ever before anything looking like this. If it's natural, then it's only some kind of mineral that has been washing out from the stone. It is next to a small stream, and there is only water in that in the early spring. There is also something called sharpening stripes, and they are in several places in Häme region, and you can see one here. It goes like a stripe in the stone, up here and down here, and then it goes further down. It's unclear, and there is another also big hole in this stone. It's unclear what they have been doing here. Some of these stones have for sure been used to sharpening iron. So it may be again that this has something to do with these blacksmiths that we know have been in this semi-natural pasture area. When you have cattle or sheep grazing, then they all these signs in these previous pictures that we found it out after the area was started to being grazed again. And some years ago, we even found a stone up here in the corner. You can see it in 2021. We found it in one of our semi-natural pasture areas. And this is again most likely have something to do with the blacksmith. And it is most likely it has been a stone to sharpening iron, the scythe and knives and different iron tools. You have a little bit different, three different types here. This one is a big one, and down here you can see a wooden trunk, and in that one you have water. So when you are sharpening your knives or your scythe here, then it needs to be wet, then its sharpening is very good. And at the same time you have some people who are turning this stone around. This is a big one. Usually were these smaller ones, which looks like also this one up here. And these kind of stones were especially made at Gotland Island in Sweden, and they had a big export of these stones. So they had these suitable stones for sharpening tools. And here again you can see this wooden construction around the stone. It's because they were putting water in here, and then they were turning the stone around, and then you could sharpen your knives on the top of it here. And to the left, right here, you have one more type of it. It's the similar, they were putting water here also on. You do also find things that you don't know what it is. For example, in one of our pastures, we have such a hole, and we don't know what it is. There is also a lot of stones here around. So maybe we don't know what they have been doing here. Finns were also making tar, and it was also made in this similar kind of big holes. And they were also burning to some extent, also making charcoal. So, and then we had, of course, the pits where you were catching the wolf. They were also digged hole like this. And in the forest, you can find also very big ones or smaller ones that have been used to catch elk or deer in former days before the gun came. In one area, we have a kind of unknown hill. It doesn't really look natural. So it's a small hill that seems to be built up out of stones. And during Iron Age, they had, for example, graves that were this kind of hilly, rocky areas. At Ritulansaari, there is this kind of sacrificial halls in stones, kuppikivi it's called in Finnish, and they are also usually located at pastures. And the meaning of these really people don't know. Some things that they have been used also for sharpening tools, maybe sharpening stone tools that were used, because we used to use stone axes for cutting down wood. Maybe later on then it transferred to become kind of sacrificing grains or food or milk or anything to some kind of nature gods. Who knows? So there are a lot of legends and a lot of stories around these kind of stones, and these are also very often then found in the semi-natural pastures. Example of an ancient stone grave in a pasture in Laitila. And here is Ales stones in Sweden in a pasture. And there are disputes what this is. Nobody knows. It looks like a big boat. And some say it's a sun calendar. Others say it's a grave, that there have been buried some people in here. But no clear answer on what it is. But again, it's in a very nice place in a very large pasture area. This is an example of a fence built in stone and peat from Iceland. So if you move in the Icelandic landscape and you can see these kinds of higher lines, then it's most likely an old fence that perhaps already now is nearly buried in the soil. And you may even find something more in your pasture, something that nobody knows what it is, only that it's human made, but we don't know the meaning of it. Here, an unknown ancient stone formation in a pasture in Estonia. And this has the form of a boat. It's about 5 meters wide and 15 meters long. And it's straight in the back, and in the front there is a stone that most likely have been up but have now fallen down, and there is even an old birch growing partly on this stone nowadays.